Hey there, everybody. Welcome into the ESPN FC studios for today's edition of Extra Time. Aage Fjortoft, Steve, Nicol, Kasey Keller, and Seb here with your questions. You can ask the first question, yeah?
Which statement? We had two statements today, one from Tuchel and one from Mark Clattenburg. Which one made the least sense?
Which one made any sense?
Which one made the least sense?
Well, what about Clattenburg? We like Clattenburg. He's a friend of ours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would like him, but he's one of them. So if I take the statement should say, I took a role by Nottingham Forest. I wanted to tell my former colleagues that they were all wrong. How could that possibly do something bad for Nottingham Forest? That is a tough one.
Well, one of
But
them's a
did the
referee.
check bounce? That's the question.
Okay. Leave old Klats alone for a second. Native's
No, he's a
interior
ref. You can't
decorator.
leave a ref
No, you're
alone,
right.
ever.
You're right.
Don, I'm getting paid for doing nothing.
That's okay.
Brilliant.
For Jan, without the injuries, how good of a career would Marco Reus have had at Dortmund? Of course, announced this week that he will be leaving the club at the end of the season.
Well, it's a very good question, and it's a very good reflection of his career. Not only did he have a lot of injuries, but he got injuries at times when he was supposed to be the best player for Germany, winning big things. So he's been very lucky. He's been one of my favorite players, but you know, there comes a time when you have the injuries, you can come back once, you can maybe come back twice, but then slowly you can see that your body is not working with you as you want, and you lose a bit of that rhythm. But he's still in there. He came on the semi-final. He can end his career by Dortmund playing a Champions League final at Wembley, so it's still in there. But he could have been one of the greatest, and the injuries took him back from that.
He's 34, Kasey. Is there an MLS shout in there?
Well, I mean, I think
MLS, he'd get a good deal. He'd get a good money.
The hard part, MLS is a grind. And I think any player that comes into MLS from Europe has to understand you have to match the physicality of MLS and then let your talent come to the forefront. If your body's not letting you match the physicality, it's tough. Travel. Yeah. And you can't play, and because you don't have
34.
But we see a lot of guys do it, Stevie.
Well,
it's not like it dissuades.
they do it, but
Well, they do it, but then you got to ask yourself, you know, who's I was going to say who's at fault. Probably the wrong word, but who's deciding? I mean, who would decide to bring a Marco Reus in, considering the injuries he's had and the obvious problem that when you bring older European players in, the biggest problem you have is keeping them fit.
Right. So now, does Marco Reus say, hey, like a Gareth Bale, do I really want to come to LA on a cut price deal? See if it works.
I mean, if Gareth Bale was willing to do it, if Chiellini was willing to do it.
But why was Gareth Bale willing to do it? He was willing to do it so he could stay fit until he went to a championship for the national team. Yeah.
Guys, how likely is it that Chelsea managed to sneak up into the top 6 by the end of the season? It would be quite a turnaround. They're 8th right now, 3 points back of 6th place Manchester United.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
One win, all of a sudden.
Who does it?
Well, or kind of sneaking a few wins here and there, but yes.
For a team that you have no idea what you're going to get when you turn up.
But I mean, you could say the same thing about the teams they're chasing. You could say the same thing about Manchester United, couldn't you? Newcastle's in there as well.
Newcastle had a better run of form.
But you get my point, though. They just won a game. They beat Tottenham.
Sure.
They weren't very good. And all of a sudden...
Well, what do you need to see? What do you need to see from a Chelsea team? String some wins together, right?
And say that a row would be a start.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So can you then, build off of that win against Spurs, who, even back from my time at Spurs, Chelsea always had something over Tottenham for a long period of time. And
most teams did, yeah.
Running's not bad. West Ham, Forest, Brighton, Bournemouth for Chelsea.
They would pass Manchester United. That's my statement of the night. They would pass Manchester United. Chelsea will be ahead of Manchester United. Just note it for the day.
A brave man.
Don't Hutchison for Jan. What's more likely, Leverkusen finally losing a game this season or Dortmund winning the Champions League?
Second statement from Norway tonight. I said it when Leverkusen went to Roma. Please, Roma, don't beat them because my Eintracht Frankfurt on Sunday will beat them. It's Eintracht Frankfurt against Leverkusen Sunday, live on ESPN. and that will be the first loss of Leverkusen this season. So it's most likely that they will lose, and I still think that PSG will somehow come through against Dortmund, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I'm 100% sure that Frankfurt will win against Leverkusen.
Jan, have you been watching Frankfurt lately? I mean, come on. And every time Leverkusen looks like it's going to happen,
There's always a goal.
They
There's
find
always
a
a goal.
96-minute goal.
Yeah.
We have made a deal with the German FA. We only play into the 90th minute, so we will be 1-0 up.
Gotcha.
You know, in the betting world, you can bet on the intervals where a team will score, and that's 75 to 90 for Leverkusen.
People have to be making some cash on that.
Huge. I mean, that's an auto play most weeks. Okay, Casey, how excited are you to see Leicester back in the Premier League,
Yes.
one of your former
Wow.
clubs? What's the immediate goal next summer?
Oh, well, the immediate goal is to stay in the league.
Next summer, next
Of
season,
course.
I think. they mean.
That's always number one. I mean, you come up, and if you can be mid-table, if you can not be looking over your shoulder at this time of year, maybe have a decent little run in one of the cups.
How likely do you think that is?
Are they not going to get?
There's the question.
If they get points deducted,
If they get
He's
issues,
starting a hole.
yeah, he's starting a hole. That's gonna be difficult. So I think really clean up that whatever financials, but that financial thing's looming over a bunch of teams, not
Right.
just Leicester as well. So and you can't really, as a player, as a manager, as whatever, understand.
think about it. Then.
Yeah, how they're going to strengthen by coming up. It helps. I mean, what they always talk about, if you can bounce back that first year, it's so key. If you don't do it that first year,
Right.
what it takes. So they've been able to come back in, and then how do they strengthen? They're clearly going to have some players. What's the Jamie Vardy situation like? How can they strengthen? How can they then? We see it every year.
Centre-backs.
Yeah, center backs.
Jan, what's one rule you would bring back from the past? I like questions like this. Big picture question. What rule from the past, Jan, would you bring back?
The handball rule that we used to have in the 90s.
That we used to know, that we used to all know what it meant and what it was?
When we know that there was hand to ball, ball to hand. That was a simple world. I know. I just feel romantic now when I think of the handball rule, because there is no one after Albert Einstein left us that can explain us the handball rule now. There is not, and I think that unfortunately I'm always been positive to VAR, because I think that whatever can do it, take bad decisions in a way, and yes, we're losing a bit of the flow and everything. But I think the handball rule is kind of adjusted to VAR. It's funny that it's sometimes now it's just getting worse and worse, and as you probably have the same as we do, we have referees coming over and explain this to us before the season, and when the season starts, everything they said was wrong.
We do have those seminars here as well.
Yeah.
Stevie, what are you bringing back from the past?
I'm not sure.
Game's better now?
I mean,
when you started, were subs? What was the deal?
There was was there no subs? One sub.
One sub.
When I started, there was 2 subs.
one sub and a 13th
Did you, as a player, did you hate that or like that? Like when they introduced
You didn't
more
know any
subs.
difference, did
Didn't know
you?
any different.
Well, so when they introduced more subs, did you like it or not like it as a player?
Well, depends if you're trying to get in the team or not.
Where were you? where were you? Were you trying to get in the team or were you in the team already?
No,
Was it good for you or bad for you in that moment?
well, when you start off, I mean, being 13th man's a nightmare. Traveling, you're traveling everywhere, doing it and not playing. Carrying the case, carrying the bags in, carrying the kit in, tidying the dressing room up. Then you go back Saturday night. You got to be on Sunday with the reserves.
Aw.
I mean, so yeah, more subs back then would have given
But
more opportunities. But at the same time, you're losing. You know, we talk about how do you manage a game.
Right.
Well, you had to manage games because you only had A, one sub, and B, a smaller squad. And so...
Did you manage it or did it just go? You didn't have a choice because you couldn't do anything about it.
Well, players knew they were in for the 90. Like they knew they couldn't look to the bench and get a break. So they probably at minute 10 are thinking that,
if
right?
you know you're playing on the Tuesday, then you're not trying to win 6, 7, and 8-0.
Right,
You're using your head, you're smart, you got Ronnie Moran at the side going, right, hey, kill it.
Yeah.
Save your legs, pass the ball around, give it to the goalie.
Because there's
kill
no
the game,
rotation
blah, blah, blah.
for you.
I mean, I almost said the away goals rule. And the only reason that it came to my mind was because I just get the feeling that every single thing that changes in the game now, it kills defending a little bit more.
Why does the away goal rule kill defending?
Because you used to be able to find a way to see a game out.
So if Real Madrid makes a mistake against
Team X, doesn't matter.
whoever, right? It doesn't really matter anymore.
Because they can always get it back on the away goal.
Yeah, but
You know,
still,
if Real Madrid end up drawing 1-1 or 2-2 at home for some reason, which sometimes would happen, it changes the whole complexion of the game. Now it's just all about forget defending. Everybody, let's score as many as we can, and it doesn't matter if we let a couple in.
Right. The city of Real Madrid is a different outcome, right?
Yeah.
If we still have it.
I mean, listen, there were great games to watch, but as I said, every little rule that's changed, I get the feeling they're chipping away at defending all the time. Just it means less and less and less.
Spoken like a true defender. Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but yeah, it's fair that Steve is saying that because I don't think a lot of people come into the stadium to see defenders. But having said
spoken
that,
like a true forward.
I will say that I was talking to my friend yesterday, and I said we're going to do the Premier League team of the players who will never come up to the Premier League team of the season. And I will say the centre halves at Everton Football Club, I love watching defenders like them are doing. But I just want to say praise the guy who discovered the back pass rule, that took away the back pass rule.
Yes.
That is the best rule change we've had in 200 years of football.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. Was
you would not go back to that.
I mean, of all the things that FIFA has tried to do to improve the game over the last 30, 40 years, the only one that has really, truly made a big difference is the back pass rule. And what, when you watch a tape.
Oh my gosh!
Watch
the 1990 World Cup
and watch them pass the ball back. And
the 92 Euros with Denmark.
And look,
they just passed it back and forth, the defenders and Schmeichel. The whole final.
My first season as a pro was the last season of the back pass.
I'm too young for
and it revolutionized the game. Absolutely, huge difference.
The reason I'm laughing is because people say that, right? But there's a way to stop it. I mean, when I was talking earlier about seeing the game out, we would pass it back to the goalkeeper for fun. And the opposition would have thick as mince. Because all you got to do is stick somebody forward, and then we can't pass it back. But yet nobody would do it. It was ridiculous. We'd be coming off at the end of the game laughing at them. Because they'd all be complaining.
Yeah, just stand that guy on the top of the 18 and you can't pass it back.
All these fans and all these opposition, I can't believe you keep passing back the goalie. Well, do something about it then. Rushy and Dalglish, teams would never pass it back to the goalie because they wouldn't let them.
Right.
To be fair, when we played Liverpool back in the 90s, we never touched the ball anyways. It didn't matter what kind of rule we had.
All right, boys, good stuff here on Extra Time. That's it for this edition. Got some good questions. We will be back tomorrow covering all things European football. A very busy weekend coming up here from the ESPN FC studios. We'll see you on Saturday.